Hello and welcome to this week's Women's Football Chat. My name is Chris Gadsby. I'm here every Thursday at 6 p.m. bringing you the very latest from the third and fourth tiers of women's football here in England and Wales. That's the FA Women's National League. Now, finally, the weather has subsided and we've been able to get a pretty much full programme of football in this weekend. There's been a lot going on. We've had league action, League Cup action, League Plate action, FA Cup action, a couple of teams, County Cup action as well, or at least tried to play in the County Cup. So we do have an awful lot to get through. With that in mind, let's get straight down to it. We will start, as we always do, with the Northern Premier Division. Bournemouth St Michael's 1, Brighouse Town 2. Bournemouth St Michael's down to 10 in this game. Jade Grove with their goal, but a brace for Lucy Sowerby gives Brighouse Town a very important 3 points in that relegation battle in the Northern Premier Division. Huddersfield Town 0, Nottingham Forest 3. Huddersfield playing the final 15 minutes of this game with 10. Forest 2-0 up at half-time, 2 penalties to Charlotte Steggles, putting them in control. Straight after half-time, Charlotte Greengrass, just 2 minutes into the second half, put them 3-0 in front, Forest fully in control. They extend their lead at the top of the table, which we'll have a look at in a moment. And Liverpool Feds losing by 4-2 at home to Derby County. Late goals giving Derby the win here. They had taken the lead. Amelia Wilson in the 18th minute put Derby in front. That lasted 4 minutes. Bethany Donoghue in the 22nd minute made it 1-1 for Liverpool Feds. Chantel Thompson then put them in front. They stayed in front until just 11 minutes to go in the game. Ella Hilliard in the 79th minute equalising for Derby to make it 2-2, and then 2 late goals from substitute Kira Ray, 86th and 88th minute, put Derby in front by 4-2, and that is how the game finished. What that means for the table, Nottingham Forest at the top, 3 points clear of Wolverhampton Wanderers, and they have a 15-goal difference as well. Derby County are up to third there on 23 points, but they have played 2 games more than the top 2. Burnley dropped down to 4th, and they are on 22 points. They are 6 points behind Forest. They do have 1 game in hand, though, although the goal difference isn't quite at the level of Forest and Wolves. Down towards the bottom, Brighouse Town 2 places up after that victory over Bournemouth St Michael's. What that does is drop West Bromwich Albion down into the bottom 2, but West Brom do have games in hand on those teams around them. Just 5 points there, separating Fylde in 6th place with West Bromwich Albion in 11th and the relegation zone. So starting to tighten up at the foot of the Northern Premier Division table. Southern Premier Division, then 3 games to talk about. A good 4-0 victory for Cheltenham Town over Billericay Town. There was a penalty to Emily Owen on the 32nd minute. Libby Davis in the 57th minute was a goal quickly after Isabel Cook had put Cheltenham 2-0 in front in the 53rd minute. So they were 3-0 up by the hour mark. And then Emma Congrave rather, with less than 15 minutes to go, put them 4-0 in front. Portsmouth, a 2-1 victory over Bridgewater United. Quick-fire goals in this one. Bridgewater had gone in front. Ellie Sarr in the 57th minute put them 1-0 in front. But then a minute later, Anessa Hani in the 58th minute equalised. And then she got a brace 10 minutes later to give Portsmouth the 2-1 victory. And then Crawley Wasps against London Bees isn't on full time yet. But it was a 1-0 victory for London Bees. What it means is that the table on full time is different to the table I've got here because full time doesn't have the London Bees win in there. So Cheltenham Town, they remain in 6th place in the league. They have closed the gap to Billericay Town, who are in 5th. It's just a 3-point gap now, and Cheltenham Town have 2 games in hand over Billericay. Portsmouth remain in 2nd. Their 2-1 victory over Bridgewater United puts the pressure a little bit on Oxford. Oxford can't really afford to slip up too much now. They have a game in hand on Portsmouth, though, so they could go back 5 points clear. And then because it is so tight at the bottom of the Southern Premier Division table, London Bees up 3 places with their 3 points. Bridgewater, Gillingham, MK Dons all drop by a place. Crawley Wasps, of course, losing that game, so they're still 7 points away from safety. They've now only got 10 games to go. Plymouth Argyle, not really with games in hand anymore either. Only over Bridgewater United do Plymouth have games in hand, and they are 4 points adrift from safety and 6 points adrift from Bridgewater United. So Plymouth could do with picking up some results relatively quickly. Let's go to Division 1 North. Again, 3 games to talk about in this one. Bradford City 0, Stockport County 5. Goals in this one. Emily Bradshaw in the 5th minute, the 9th minute. Francesca Davis in the 13th minute. That put them 3-0 up by the quarter of an hour mark. Convincing victory in the end for Stockport County. Ella Ritchie in the 78th minute, and then Eva Craney-Barney inside the final 10 minutes. 5-0 Stockport County victorious over Bradford City. Durham Sestra winning by 4-1. A hat-trick from Poppy Pritchard, helping them on their way to a comfortable victory at home to Barnsley. Jordan Atkinson with the other goal for Durham Sestra. Alana Milliard with Barnsley's only goal. And a 2-0 victory for York City over Merseyrail. Battle of the promoted sides. Holly Findlay in the 14th minute, Jess Holder in the 33rd minute made the difference between those two. What it means for the table is that Durham Sestra now 7 points clear at the top. Newcastle United with 2 games in hand. So Durham will be top regardless of what Newcastle do with those 2 games. Stockport County up to 3rd after their victory and Barnsley's defeat. But they are 11 points behind Durham Sestra. And without any games in hand. Barnsley, they are 13 points behind Durham Sestra. They have 3 games in hand, so they could close that gap a bit. But it's starting to look as though it may be a 2-horse race between Durham Sestra and Newcastle United to see who goes up from Division 1 North. A bit like it was last year, but not with Newcastle and Durham Sestra, with Newcastle and Liverpool Feds. Liverpool Feds, of course, getting promoted last season. Newcastle see if they can go one better this year, but they really do need to win both of those games in hand. Down towards the bottom, York City's victory over Merseyrail means they now have a 7-point gap to the bottom 2. Merseyrail don't have any games in hand. Bradford City do, though, but they are 8 points behind York City, so they can't catch them. They can just make that gap a little bit less comfortable. Division 1 Midlands then, and I mentioned last week that a draw between Doncaster Rovers and Solihull Moors would probably be the best result for Stourbridge at the top of the table. That's exactly what happened. A 0-0 draw between those two sides. Doncaster went down to 10. Holly Housley seeing red. But 0-0 between those two sides. Leaford Athletic, a 3-0 victory over Sheffield. Talita Chase with a penalty on the half-hour mark. Jessica Lowe in the 52nd minute and Laura Broadbent in the 81st minute with the 3-0 victory for Leafield Athletic. Peterborough United beating Long Eaton United by 8-0. Very comfortable for Peterborough, who scored inside the first minute thanks to Jessica Evans. Other goals in that game, Neve Connor. Jessica Evans got 2 in that game. Tara Kirk with a hat-trick, a 23-minute hat-trick. Rachel Lawrence and Keir Perkins also getting goals in Peterborough's convincing 8-0 victory. Sporting Cowser beating Wem Town away from home by 2-0. Sky Owen in the 28th minute. Stephanie Weston in the 2nd minute of added time at the end of the first half. So Sporting Cowser did the damage in the first 45. And finally, Leek Town, a great victory for them against Lincoln City, who were 2-1 up at the break. Goals to them, Abigail Ringrose, 19th minute, Lucy Farrow, 44th. Only goal of the first half, Chantel Gallagher on the quarter-hour mark. So 2-1 to Lincoln City at half-time. But 2 goals in the second half, Cassie Hyde 5 minutes into it, and Jade Trina just after the hour mark gave Leek Town a 3-2 victory. What it means for the table is a lot of movement. Because Division 1 Midlands is probably the tightest league we've got at the moment. So, we've got Doncaster Rovers Bells with that point go above Lincoln City, who of course lost. So they are now one of 4 teams on 19 points. Stourbridge still out in front, 6 points clear of Solihull Moors, who of course used their game in hand this weekend, couldn't take enough of it. So they're on 21, 6 points clear. Doncaster Rovers Bells, one of their games in hand. They can now only get to 22. So Stourbridge, 5 points clear regardless. Lincoln City on 14. They've played more games than anybody else. There is a 6-game difference between the best and the worst in terms of games played in Division 1 Midlands. A very busy second half of the season for Sheffield it's going to be. So Doncaster Rovers Bells above Lincoln City with their point. Peterborough United are up 1 place and Leek Town are up 3 places towards the bottom. So Northampton dropped down 2, Wemtown dropped down 1, Sheffield dropped down 1. So Sheffield are now in the relegation zone. They do have all those games in hand though. Long Eaton United, more games played than those teams they're trying to catch. And they are now 7 points away from safety with a minus 77 goal difference after that big defeat to Peterborough. Division 1 South East, big scorelines here as well. Actonians 9-0 victors over Chesham United. Rochelle Shakes getting 2 inside the first 10 minutes. In fact, Actonians were 3-0 up inside the first 10 minutes. Mila De Santos getting 1 in that opening 10 as well. So they were 3-0 up after 10 minutes. Then Natsumi Kano in the 43rd minute, 4-0 at half-time. Second half, Dominika Netchkova in the 64th minute, Alessandra Barreca in the 68th minute, a brace for Samaria Khan, 71st and 74th minute, and Tanini Chambers in the 96th minute rounded off a 9-0 victory for Actonians in that game. And then another big result, Ashford 8, Cambridge City 2. 4 braces in this one for Ashford Town. Ashley Cheatley, Kaylee Currivan, Alyssa Down and Amy Dern all getting a brace for Ashford. Rebecca Stevenson and Carly Tolentino getting the goals for Cambridge City, who continue to struggle towards the bottom. London Seaward 3, Norwich City 0. A brace for Ree Laudat and 1 for Samantha Lanza, the goals for London Seaward. And a 0-0 draw between Queen's Park Rangers and Cambridge United. What it does for the table is, a little bit at the top, nothing at all at the bottom. Actonians with their victory go above Norwich City, who of course were defeated by London Seaward. AFC Wimbledon State in the middle of those two. So Actonians up 2, Norwich City down 2. Norwich City's goal difference taking a hit there, which has dropped them below Wimbledon by a couple of goals. Hashtag United still out in front by 6 points now, the gap. With Actonians getting on to 19. Down towards the bottom, Hounslow didn't play. They had their 3rd attempt at playing their County Cup game against Charlton under-21s. Still didn't happen for them, so they're going to try again for the 4th time this weekend. Cambridge City still there, just 1 place above that lone relegation spot. Now it is going to come down to those 2 games between Cambridge City and Hounslow, which are coming up in the next few weeks. Chesham United not having the greatest of seasons either, instead on the back end of a 9-0 defeat this weekend. But because they are 9 points clear of Hounslow already, you feel that they are safe in Division 1 South East for another season. Division 1 South West then, 5 games to talk about in this one. The only team really not in action, Cardiff City, who are playing in the FA Cup. We'll get onto that shortly. But Bournemouth couldn't take advantage of Cardiff not playing. They lose 2-0 to Keynsham Town. 2 goals coming in the final 15 minutes. Mackenzie Rassiter and Gemma McGuinness getting the goals for Keynsham Town. Great result that is for Cardiff City. AFC St Austell 1, Chelsea 3. Goal to Lucy Soloway for AFC St Austell. But Amelia Hammond, Nikki Lake and Natasha Wilde with the goals for Chelsea to give them the 3 points. Exeter City, comfortable winners over Southampton Women's, 5-1, including 4 goals for Sarah Stacey in the space of 25 minutes. 58, 68, 76 and 83 for Sarah Stacey. Zoe Watkins had got Exeter's first goal in the 53rd minute, and Shannon Sivright had got Southampton Women's only goal of the game. 0-0 at half-time, that one, and it finished 5-1 to Exeter City. Maidenhead won by 5-1 over Portishead Town. Now, this game had been abandoned by the referee due to a bad injury to a Portishead Town player. But with the game at 85 minutes at the time of the stoppage, the league has determined, as they are able to do in the league rules, to determine whether the whole game had to be replayed or whether that result would stand. They've elected to make that result stand. So Maidenhead win by 5-1. Natalie Cowell in the 33rd minute, Amy Saunders 49th minute, Alicia Lund a brace 53rd 62nd minute, Imogen Fisher 79th minute, Ellie Stripple with the only goal for Portishead Town. They lose by 5-1. Moneyfields continue their winning ways. They win by 3-1 over Larkhall Athletic. Roxanne Lee Stewart just after the half-hour mark. Ellie Kirby on 66 minutes and Gemma Simmons on 77 minutes. Put Moneyfields 3-0 in front. A minute after that third goal, Sophie Price got one back for Larkhall Athletic in the 78th minute, just less than 15 minutes after coming on. What it means for the table, a lot of movement in Division 1 South West. Exeter go above Bournemouth with their victory. They're now 2 points behind Cardiff without any games in hand. Bournemouth are now 5 points back, and Cardiff and Exeter both have games in hand on them. Moneyfields in 4th. They're 10 points back with 1 game in hand. Chelsea up a couple of places. They now lead in the midfield. They're a little bit back from the rest, but they do have a game in hand. Swindon have 2. Southampton women's down a couple of places after that defeat. Keynsham and Portishead swap, as do Maidenhead and Larkhall. Great result for Maidenhead, who now are outside of the relegation zone on goals scored, level on points and level goal difference with Larkhall Athletic. AFC St Austell still at the bottom, but still only 1 win. Well, 1 win and a draw, you'd say, because of the goal difference, away from staying up in Division 1 South West. So don't necessarily write AFC St Austell off just yet. Right, let's have a look at the results in the cup competitions. We're going to start with the FAWNL Cup. Watford beating MK Dons by 5-1. Goals in this game. An early goal for Bianca Baptiste in the 7th minute for Watford. A brace for Helen Ward, 37th and 57th minute. Ellie Head in the 80th and Annie Lee Rossiter in the 90th minute with the 5 goals for Watford. Laura Mitchell, the only goal for Milton Keynes Dons. It means that Watford will go on to face the winners of Wolverhampton Wanderers against Huddersfield Town. That game couldn't be played 2 weeks ago because Huddersfield Town were in County Cup action. It then couldn't be played last week because of the FA Cup, so it's being played this week instead. FA Plate quarter-final. Hull City 1, Stourbridge 2. Stourbridge into the semi-finals. Then Alex Nickling in the 19th minute, Neve Deasy in the 68th minute. Laura Bartup with Hull City's goal. So Stourbridge go through. They will take on Crawley. But because Stourbridge are in County Cup action on the 19th, that game is being played on the 26th. So it's all a bit messy with the Cups at the moment because of the County Cups. And then one fixture, AFC Fylde against Leeds United. That's the final quarter-final draw. That is being played this weekend because both sides were in FA Cup action last weekend and weren't able to play this fixture. Speaking of the FA Cup, we'll go through those results as well. As I said, we're going to keep covering the FA Cup as long as there is an FAWNL side still in it, and there is still one FAWNL side still in the competition. So we'll run through them all. Of course, I can only give you scores about the FAWNL sides from the website. So Durham beat Crystal Palace by 3-0. Tottenham Hotspur beat London City Lionesses 5-0. Manchester City waltzed past Sheffield United 7-0. Sunderland 1, Manchester United 2, Chelsea 3, Liverpool 2, Everton 0, Birmingham City 1, Coventry United 4, #United 0, and Arsenal 9, Leeds United 0. West Bromwich Albion 0, Brighton Hove Albion 7. The all FAWNL tie, Burnley against Cardiff City. Burnley haven't got their goal scorer up on the system yet, but Cardiff City, a goal for Corey Williams, 2 for Laura Williams, and 1 for Ingrid Ardland, giving Cardiff City a 4-1 victory. They go on to face the winner of Ipswich Town against Lewes, which was Lewes by 1-0. Cardiff City have been drawn against Lewes in the 5th round. The 5th round is on the 26th of February. As I said, I will continue to cover the FA Cup as long as Cardiff remain in it. Wolverhampton Wanderers 0, West Ham 2, AFC Wimbledon 1, Charlton Athletic 5. Goal for AFC Wimbledon coming to Ashley Hinks 9 minutes from time. Bristol City 4, Oxford United 0, Leicester City 2, Reading 2, won 3-2 on penalties did Reading. And AFC Fylde losing by 11 goals to 0 against Aston Villa. So the Super League and Championship sides doing a pretty good job of stopping the FAWNL sides from scoring. So only 2 shocks in the competition. And that was Cardiff of Tier 4 beating Burnley of Tier 3. And also Birmingham of Tier 2 beating Everton of the Super League. But that is all of the results from the past 7 days. We're now going to have a look at the fixtures. As I said, pretty much a complete programme of fixtures scheduled for this weekend. We'll start in the north. Well, I say that, there's only 3 games in the north because, of course, Wolves and Huddersfield are playing in that Cup quarter-final. So Brighouse Town take on Stoke City. Brighouse Town can leapfrog Stoke City from 9th to 7th with a victory. Liverpool Feds host Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest, this is a game obviously with Wolves not playing. Forest will look to increase the gap to 6 points. Now next week, Forest take on Wolves in what I believe could well decide the Northern Premier Division depending on which way it goes. And Loughborough Lightning against Burnley. Loughborough Lightning bottom of the table. Burnley are in 4th. They will want to get a victory, put themselves a level on points with Wolves. Perhaps even if they win by 6 goals, which is not out of the question, they could leapfrog Wolves into 2nd place. And even though they will be level on points then as well, and that might be a great psychological boost to Burnley and at the detriment of Wolves as well. We do have a full programme in the Southern Premier Division. Bridgewater United against Crawley Wasps. Bridgewater in 7th, Crawley Wasps down at the bottom, desperate for points, yet to win a game this season in the league. They're 7 points away from safety. Cheltenham Town against Oxford United. Oxford then will be looking to increase their gap if they can. London Bees take on Plymouth Argyle. That's a really important game. Plymouth Argyle in 11th and in the relegation zone. London Bees in 10th and just outside of it. Plymouth will really want to trim that gap down to just 1 point to safety. Milton Keynes Dons against Billericay Town. That is 9th against 5th. Milton Keynes Dons also just 4 points above the safety zone. Billericay Town could get themselves up to 4th if Watford don't beat Ipswich. Watford against Ipswich is 4th against 3rd. Again, that's pretty good for both Oxford and Portsmouth because obviously both of those sides below them then can't win. And Gillingham host Portsmouth. That's 8th against 2nd. Portsmouth will be hoping that Cheltenham Town can take some points away from Oxford United. It gives Portsmouth the chance to go top, although Oxford will have a game in hand. Division 1 North then, Barnsley against Merseyrail, that's 4th against 11th. Chorley against Newcastle United is 10th against 2nd. Durham Sestra, they take on Bradford City, that's top against bottom, and York City host Middlesbrough, which is 8th against 5th. Now Durham, of course, after this week's game will only have 8 left to play, so their fixture congestion, as you would, is kind of really playing into their hands, being out of the FA Cup, the League Cup, League Play. They've only got league fixtures to worry about, so their fixture congestion throughout these final 3 months of the season, they only have to play 8 games. So it's working quite nicely for them. Bradford City, of course, they have got 2 wins so far this season. They're 5 points away from safety, but it's going to be tough to go to Durham and take points away from them. Division 1 Midlands then, and a full programme apart from Stourbridge and Peterborough. Peterborough playing in the County Cup, so Stourbridge, their opponents, not playing this weekend. Gives an opportunity for the other teams to try and close the gap somewhat. This is obviously Doncaster Rovers Bells' final game in hand over Stourbridge. They face bottom of the table Long Eaton United, so you fancy Doncaster Rovers Bells in that one. Leafield Athletic against Wem Town, that's 6th against 10th. 19 points plays 10 points. There is only a 1 point gap between Wem Town's in safety and Sheffield, who aren't. Sheffield host Northampton Town, that's 11th against 9th, so really important game for both of those sides. Sporting Cowser against Lincoln City, 5th against 4th, both sides on 19 points. Lincoln have played 3 games more than Sporting Cowser, they're only above them by a single goal. And Leek Town against Solihull Moors, that's 8th hosting 2nd. Again, only 3 points separate Leek Town from that relegation zone, as they will be nervously looking over their shoulder. Division 1 South East, a full programme apart from Hounslow, who are having another attempt at playing their County Cup game. So Actonians against AFC Wimbledon, 2nd against 3rd. Another dream scenario for #United because both of those sides can't win. Cambridge City against London Seaward, that is 10th against 6th. So Cambridge City just looking to pick up a couple more points, increase that gap to Hounslow. Cambridge United, who are in 7th, they take on #United. So at the end of play on Sunday, they could be 8 points clear at the top of the table. Cheshire United against Ashford Town is 9th against 5th, and Norwich City against Queen's Park Rangers 4th against 8th. So there's plenty of mid-table battles going on there. If you look at the Division 1 South East table, you would potentially argue that everybody, Cheshire United in 9th up, are safe of the drop, with only one team going down. As I said, I think it's all going to come to those games between Cambridge City and Hounslow. Those games are taking place, well, the first of those 2 games is taking place on the 12th of March, so we've got a little bit of time left to wait. They were supposed to play, of course, a couple of weeks ago, then all the cups and the postponements got in the way. Finally, Division 1 South West, AFC Bournemouth, they take on Swindon Town. Bournemouth in 3rd, Swindon Town in 6th. Bournemouth really needing to keep the pressure on the top 2. What works in Bournemouth's favour is that the top 2 are playing each other. Exeter City against Cardiff City. Cardiff, of course, with a 2-point gap at the moment. So if Exeter win this, Cardiff will no longer be top of the table. And who would have predicted that a few weeks ago when Cardiff looked absolutely unstoppable in Division 1 South West? Moneyfields against Portishead Town is 4th against 9th. So Moneyfields will be looking to keep the pressure on, particularly with Cardiff and Exeter playing each other. It's an opportunity for Moneyfields to gain a couple of points. Selsey against Maidenhead United, that is 5th against 10th. Said Maidenhead United only out of the bottom 2 at the moment on goals scored, so they're definitely looking over their shoulder. And Southampton Women's against AFC St Austell. AFC St Austell at the bottom, Southampton Women in 7th. They are 9 points clear of the drop. They have games in hand as well. You would feel that they are relatively safe, although they do still have 13 games to play in this year's Division 1 South West. That will therefore about do it for this week's Women's Football Chat. And you see plenty of competitions going on. Congratulations to Cardiff for getting through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. That game is on the 26th of February. It's only a few weeks to wait for that. We will know, of course, the Cup semi-final opponents and the Plate semi-final opponents after this weekend. So long as all the games go ahead, it's meant to get back down below freezing again here in the East Midlands, but then in the day it's meant to get up to kind of 9 or 10 degrees, so hopefully the pitches won't freeze over and we will be able to get the games played. As always, particularly this time of year, just check before you travel because some venues change to go onto a 3G pitch to allow these games to get played. But keep supporting your local women's football team. Thank you very much for watching and or listening to this week's Women's Football Chat, and goodbye.